as we conclude our day, let's chit chat with love life advice in mind and how to continue with the conversation on not wasting your time if a person lacks that inner child adult. So, when you're a person who knows what it means to be securely attached and to be alive, okay? So, you know how the unknown works in mindfulness mindset states. You're able to contemplate with the integrated brain, okay? So, in the awareness, you know how to be in the positive, negative emotions. You don't call them positive or negative. You just know how to be your safe haven, secure base, and to use your prefrontal. Okay, so you're not stubborn in a way of continuing to use the deceptive human suffering narrative or the lack of self-aware conversation that people who are in their teenager version. So people who deceive themselves, they have those control issues. Those are the adaptive child part people. And so they don't do actual self-sabotage. What it is that their self is afraid to love, and so they choose to escape it. That's why you don't want to use time with people who are emotionally unavailable. And so when a person lacks their inner child adults, you'll know because they don't want to have love for themselves or others. They don't believe in compassion towards self and others. They, in fact, don't think that love is unconditional. Yes, as grown-ups, we will have conditions, but that's because we are sensible, and so we're discerning. So it's not about love being conditional. Obviously, people play with words, but this is a part of where if you have, let's say, addictions, and you're working through maladaptive patterns of behavior, so you have sex, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. Obviously, here's where for every dynamic, the monogamous, monoamorous person will be like, okay, no, you got sex addictions. We need to figure that one out. For the polyamory community, it's a different story because we're open to being able to have those relationships with compersion, but obviously doesn't mean you're participating. So you work with that. But we also work to heal trauma completely. Again, that's why you don't want to use your time with anybody who lacks the desire to bring themselves to wholeness. Wholeness is your health. So a person who wants to get whole will be unmasking the truth of their fears and therefore exploring feelings with self-reflection in the state of awareness of that unknown, of that implicit, all of that which comes up, and therefore growing, not stubbornness, but the flexibility that comes with having the courage to know whatever my village was, whatever I got raised in, whatever that is, which brought me to have inner conflict and whatever it is, I'm going to work to get out of. Okay, so you don't carry on with a stubbornness that doesn't allow you to have a playground in that which is your mind, your brain, and your body, and yourself, and your heart. And so inner child adults explore self-reflection with their partner and or partners in a way that involves the inner child adult, the functional inner child adult love language that we talk about. Okay, so what I can tell you is for a person who's an empowered feminine 5D mystic, or for a person who's an empowered masculine, they might not consider themselves mystics, you will continue to grow relationships with people, and you will be able to have any of those that are romantic partners work if they are with integrity, if they are honest, if they are emotionally, mentally, and physically available. And so while some people need Terry Real because they don't know how to have conversations that spell out the truth, the people who are inner child adults, the way I'm talking to you about it, do. So this is where one, don't use time with people who you notice are using, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, again, to me, I began noticing as a teenager, once I was broken up with the teenage boyfriend, I started dating different people. So I noticed that which I wanted and that which I didn't. And then when it came to twin flames, that is a whole different story. I know they tell you you have one. That's the part of where if you're a mystic, you have your own knowing of your own oversoul. So nobody tells you about your own oversoul. But at the same time, that doesn't change that it's a relationship. Okay, so I am a person who is going to be engaging with you independently from those stages they've talked to you about. The reason they have stages is because those people don't own their mind and their brains and their body, which means they don't own their sense of self. They all have a narrative for you when they're talking about it. And that's a narrative that is their left mode with their insecurely attached inner child, which I've seen. So I'm going to leave that alone because that's not part of our conversation. But the part of a healthy self-worth person is going to be, I'm going to tell you. And so with every year that you get older, from your teenage years to your grown up, mid-adult, by the time you're mid-adult, you're emotionally mature if you have secure attachment, if you're not avoiding to speak with people from the heart. And so you're going to it's hard to love because it's not. You compatible, not compatible. Appreciating each other, yes. No, okay. It's a very straightforward equation thanks to being self-empowered here, and that's because you welcome who you are with your flaws, and all your inner child parts are asleep. That's why you're an inner child adult, so you're having a good time. And therefore, this is the part of, yes, sadness can come, anger can come, all fear can come. You know how to self-regulate all by yourself. This is why you're non-traumatized, because you process the depths of emotions and thoughts with the inner growth mindset, mindfulness, and mindset practices. You're able to sift through the sensations, the images, the affects, the meanings, the behaviors. That's why mindsight comes from Dr. Daniel Siegel, and learning his wheel of awareness supports me to integrate it with mindfulness practices. People who are not flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable with their personality patterns, as he points out, when they do mindfulness, they tend to have some areas where they struggle. I put this because here at HP, we don't struggle with emotions because they're not good and bad. They are all those emotions that we have, and we are working in a ventral energy. So you're working with the prefrontal. You're working with knowing, let me use these words compared to these words, and let me again have a safe circle of people who are also in their ventral energy. So the ventral energy people are in their prefrontal, which is why when we're interacting and we're witnessing, because we own, observe, witness, narrate, our own sense of self, and we're owning it. So we're saying, hey, I'm sharing something. We're going to listen to each other as safe haven, secure bases, and we're not going to create characterological distinctions or judgments, meaning a charge. We're seeing as differentiated selves each other, and that's why an inner child adult is what you want, because they are differentiated, you're differentiated, and now we're going to link. And nobody is trying to enmesh or come in my space or basically be immature and or hide themselves. So they won't do that, which is the escape, which then they lie about. Where is it? So when you have people like my facade friend, why do I talk about him all the time? Because when I'm presenting to him, we talked about why I told you that thing that was something that I wasn't going to tell you. Remember? It was because you judge a book by its cover. These were the words I used. So today what I say to you, people who have judgment and are rigid and harsh and unforgiving, and they're adaptive child people like my friend, they're half-brains who will continue to be their teenage version and with this. So even as I'm talking, he's probably talking over me. Okay, so it's uninteresting. And there's in a relationship that ain't going to fly by a person who's empowered, because it's going to be noticeable that you aren't hearing me, because then when we have another time, I'm going to notice you didn't hear what I said last time, and I'm going to bring it up. By the third time, we're done, because you don't have ears to hear me. You're not self-aware enough, accountable, regulating to have what is an actual, genuine, honest conversation. And once again, biological rudeness is not a choice. People who lack ownership of their sense of self, they lack the ownership of their mind, brain, their body, and their heart, and their gut, and everything. So they don't know how to be differentiated. But if you do, you're going to know how to be able to be present, attuned, to resonate, to continue trusting. But at a certain point, because they have control issues, they don't have trust. They're closed off. And so the minute that they're not confronting their fears or unmasking the truth, but they're going to addictions, and then they're doing escapism, and they're finding ways to just make up excuses, their control issues are their emotional unavailability, and their deception is not going to be called out by a person who's empowered. It's just going to be, okay, you are not into wanting a relationship with me. Whatever this is, it's something different. And the facade friend is the example, because he continued to not take seriously what conversation we had, because he doesn't know how to be himself. Being yourself means you're an inner child adult, because otherwise you're going to be a pause self for people who are their true self. So those of us who are authentic, who don't have to control, who are genuine in the feelings we will have, in the thoughts that we will think, we will tell you. And people who find that gullible, so be it for them. It's sad to me to see people who don't know how to be authentic with each other, and then to know sometimes it'll work, sometimes it doesn't work. That's it. So the reality is, a inner securely attached person, there's non-traumatized people because we self-regulate, because when we're feeling feelings, it's okay because we know our ventral energy. We know our prefrontal. Emotions last 90 seconds. When you're doing mindfulness, mindset, and mindset as a practice, and you're anchored in ventral, it's not hard to think, it's not hard to feel. It's not hard to go through heartbreak, because when you're expressing the sadness, you're not doing it with tragedy. Okay, so you build the capacity to have a good circle of people, by the way, not the ones who have narratives. No, the ones who have stories for you, they're not the best bet. It's like being in a Mean Girls movie. So you want to find empowered feminines, empowered masculines, means other people who have healthy self-worth, and therefore they are emotionally mature, mentally mature, and physically, and they know there's no Lucifer, there's no devil demon to be blaming, there's no need to dehumanize some human being who is emotionally unavailable or has some shit, who knows what the fuck is in their life. None of our business. We're here to share what happened today to me, okay? So this is what makes partners like inner child adults fun, is that you get to talk about the important things that took place without dragging a pain point around, which seems pretty ridiculous to those of us who know that there's big problems out there in the world. Okay, so being able to think and feel with softness, with ease, is a choice you make if you are part of our 5D collective of mystics and mindfully living and loving people. You're doing it consistently, and then that's why you come on over. Subscribe if you'd like for video exercises on Fanbase, video practice exercises, and then Spotify. We have paid subscription-based model content. Email if you're interested in one-to-one mentorship, or email to be on the sign-up sheet for masterclass and future workshops, spiritual workshops, and retreats as an Akashic record reader, Reiki master. And I'm adding some other beautiful stuff in addition to the mindfulness practitioner for those future retreats. I haven't decided how to design them, but I have things in mind. So I also look forward to meeting 5D mystics, because the 4D, seriously, I thought at some point they would awaken to their own wholeness, but I see that they disregard their wholeness. So they don't have a whole sense of self. So we don't get to meet their inner child adults. They get to stay in Elsa's little mantles, and well, it is what it is. I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh and learn and expand and not cast stones, and that's who we get to hang out with. So we get to catch a falling star and put it in your pocket, never let it fade away. And save it for a rainy day. And then what? And when love taps you on the shoulder on some starless night, you may just want to hold her, him, or they, and now you have a pocket full of starlight. Those are some of the songs. I'm going to do some future channeled guidance messages for that one. Love is in the air. Na, 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 na. So love life advice. Again, pick the ones who you can tell I love to love. Again, they're easygoing. I know the ones who worry about... So people who worry about their gut, what I'm going to say as we close on out, please. Patrick Tiahan, go to him. He's a great childhood trauma survivor, healing therapist, and take therapy with him. Join his community. Because when people don't trust their gut, as Gabor Mate points out, it is because you have not a good gut. And so you can learn with him how to love yourself first, or Terry Real. Then you won't be confused. I have never once been confused of making my choices romantically or physically, and I've consistently learned how to be able and make good choices for myself. And when people have made the bad ones, men and women, they all, like my facade friend and another man friend of mine, completely did not take ownership, completely did not regard that they have wounds from their own childhood. And they completely fit the bill of what Patrick Tiahan describes as childhood trauma survivors dating people who then treat them like shit. These people protected, defended, stood up for people who treated them like shit, versus take their friend and thank their friend for giving them good input, if you will. Meaning, not that I didn't want to, hey, thanks so much, but their lack of being able to look to the past and notice that which they chose. Because see, if you don't become aware, accountable, regulating with the psych education, not the narrative, with the psych education of I'm a person who made the wrong choices because I was working with my child parts with unfinished business from a half a brain. Now we have the psych education. Now we got a human in front of me who can say, you know what, I can understand everything because, yeah, that makes sense. I know my 0 8 year old. You know what? Yeah. So once you meet your child parts and they're uncharged and you look through that, okay, I can see where my fear of abandonment, rejection. So having a conversation is what will help a person process, witness, and to become more resilient versus everyone has laundry. No, we don't, Zen Master. No, we don't. It's hard to live life. Not really, not at all for some of us, just the ones of you who have stories apparently. Okay, so again, love life advice. People who are mentally, emotionally, physically intelligent, they're inner child adults. We have integrated brains, bilateral, vertical. We take mental health seriously. We take our physical health seriously. We are all loving to love and loving to learn. Join us and have a wonderful day.